Welcome to the Swipe Right Effect podcast, where we will be sharing with you the power to get unstuck by swiping right on yourself. Your host, author C.K. Collins, aka Kelly, gets personal with her guests, sharing stories of themselves getting unstuck with wisdom and guidance. Where do you feel stuck? Are you waiting to get your new life started after a big change? You've come to the right place. So with that said, let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Swipe Right Effect. I'm CK Collins, and today my guest is Kim Benoy. And Kim is a podcaster like me, but she has a lot more experience. and her podcast is called Midlife with Courage. So I really wanted all of you listeners to meet Kim and hear her story. And we have a lot in common. And we'll talk about that as we go on. So Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Tell everybody where you live.
I live in Wisconsin, the land of the winter that would not end this year, but finally we're getting green grass and it's warmer.
Yeah, lovely spring. I know it finally got warm here too in Rhode Island. It's feeling lovely outside.
Yeah, it's like, finally.
Yeah, we were ready.
Yeah, for sure.
So would you please share your story about what inspired you to start Midlife with Courage and and a little bit of your background too?
Sure. Yeah. Well, as you said, I live in Wisconsin. I've lived here my whole life. I'm married. I have two grown adult girls. I call them girls. They're just going to be girls forever. They're 33. I was a nurse for 27 years. I still hold my license. So technically I'm still a nurse. I'm just not working, in a hospital or anything. About 6 years ago, I started working with a essential oil company as kind of a fun little side job. And once I came to figure out that these essential oils have some wonderful properties that, are very therapeutic. And so I did that business and I was still nursing, and I kind of went back and forth between, I'm just going to do nursing and just a little bit of oils, to, oh, I'm a business person, I want to do the oils and I'll just do a little bit of nursing. And eventually I came to the point where I just wanted to have a business, and I was ready to be done with nursing. It wasn't even COVID. It was some other stuff that was going on, and I needed to be done. So kind of around that time, I was, trying to figure out what to do with my business. Like, how did I want it? I didn't want to just be a person who sold essential oils for another company. I wanted to do something myself. And I went to a business networking event, and the speaker there said, so tell us, think about what you are passionate about, what gets you out of bed in the morning. And I thought, well, I like to talk in front of people. I like to get up in front of and talk to them and, teach or whatever. And of course, at that time it was COVID, so we couldn't really be getting out in front of people like we want.
Nope.
Nope. So my daughter had a podcast at the time. And so I thought, well, I'd like to do a podcast. And I'm not even sure, I'm a midlife woman, so that probably is why I decided to focus on midlife women. But I just thought I wanted to speak to other women who, like myself, had decided to kind of change things up. I got to a point where I was like, oh my gosh, my kids are out of the house. My husband is, he's here, but whatever. He doesn't really need me for too much. Like, what can I do now? I know there's things that I want to do. What can I do? And I just kind of felt like I was stuck. Like, I didn't know what to do. So I thought, if I could just share stories of other women who have become unstuck or have been realizing, life's too short to just be unhappy. I thought that would be helpful for other women to hear those stories. Absolutely. And so, yeah. And so that's Midlife with Courage was born, and I was so excited about it. And I just, within 3 months I had it up and running, and now we're in my third season this year. So
wow. Congratulations.
It's been so fun. Thank you. Yeah. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Well, I love that you, I think one of the things we have in common is the storytelling. I mean, people sharing their stories, and like my friends did in my book, and they are starting to come on the podcast as well. But I think storytelling is how humans relate. I mean, there's,
Yes.
when you know each other and you're in the same room, of course, there's shaking hands and hugs and smiling and all of these things, but you can be anywhere in the world and hear a story and connect to that. You don't have
Yes.
to be in a room with another human.
Right.
And so that's what I love about what you do, because I think that's how I learn. I know, and I'm also an auditory learner. So listening, like podcasts are important. It's just how I learn. So, what are some of the stories that have kind of stuck with you, and your 2 years past and your in your third season?
Yeah.
Do you have a specific story, or even just a couple that you
Yeah.
think, I wish everybody knew this, or
Yeah. Well, I think the ones that really stand out to me recently, and maybe just because I've had someone recently who was one of my guests who had a near-death experience, and that whole situation where, they're saying that they literally went to heaven and chose to come back, and how they learn to live now and be prepared for, I mean, we're all going to die someday, but how they're more prepared for that now. And maybe that sounds like a little morose or something, but it just kind of made me, it's like a definite example of, like a kind of I don't know what the word is, but it's just very like in your face, like, yeah, this is, we need to hear this. We don't want to hear things like that, but it's, it is,
well,
it is what it is.
yeah. Well, it can give you hope that,
Hope. Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
that, for her, it's a tangible experience. For us, it's intangible, but
Yeah.
but with a description and her story and what it's done for her,
Mhm.
you can start to relate to it. And that's
Right.
lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually,
Mm.
I sell my own products, essential oils products too. And we have this vendor event that I go to. And one of the people that also sells something at that event had actually had a horrible heart attack since the last time I had seen him.
Oh,
And he
wow.
told me kind of the same things that these other women have said about, dying and coming back. And I'm like, oh, wow. And it's like the same, like I didn't prompt him or anything. He was just telling me these same things. And I'm like, oh, there's something to this,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, but I think going back to your question, I just think it's amazing when I'll have women who, I had one, I was just telling you earlier, a woman who she had just explained or had just told me her story about, raising kids and getting through a divorce. And she had started her career with this direct sales company, brand new company, and she built it up to be the number one company or chapter or whatever in the region. And then she made a comment about, yeah, I haven't really done that much. And I'm just like, hey, wait a minute. You just told me you did this and this and this, and you need to take credit for that and take ownership of that because you did that, and
Right.
and she was just like, oh yeah, like she didn't realize it herself until I said it. So I just think that's just another example of what you said about how having to listen to these, listening to these stories can help.
Right.
We're not just here
Sure. Yeah.
talking for the fun of it. It really can help.
Yeah, I think it's really in my heart and soul right now. I mean, I feel like it's my life purpose is to have these
Yeah.
conversations and gather women, whether it's in person or on video or on audio,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
gather them to hear something that might flip a switch, flip a light on, to say, aha, oh, maybe
Yeah.
I should be thinking about the fact that I raised 3 kids is pretty amazing.
Right.
And
And
especially especially like 3 happy, healthy kids, or
right.
maybe it's even harder to have raised children who have problems or issues or health
Hmm.
issues, that it's such a journey for
Hmm.
every woman who's had children
Hmm.
to to get them to adulthood and
Yes.
then turn it over.
Yes. Although
Yeah.
you never completely let go because they still have issues, but you
Yeah.
just learn to deal with them differently, I think. But yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I think in community, like if I think some people are isolated in specific areas of the United States or anywhere in the world where They might
Mhm.
not have access to, truly great girlfriends
Mhm.
or even they might be have moved away from their family. So when you
Yeah.
can provide access to stories and advice and comfort and, um, just the fact that, the stating out there that you should love yourself. And
Yes.
here's some ways to practice that. Um,
Right.
I think, I don't know. I just wanted the message out. So thank you for what you're doing. I really,
Yeah.
and especially midlife women, I think if you're a mother and you're coming out of motherhood and you're an empty nester, it's like a loss of identity. Um,
Yes.
and you're still a mom, but that whole
Mhm.
daily identifying with that role shifts and changes. And it's something to
Yeah.
be proud of, but it still is sad
It is
that
sad. It's a grieving
kids are moving
process.
on.
Yeah. 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 And like, when you're a mom, you don't always get the thanks for things, thanks for making me supper every night, or, thanks for
Yeah,
providing a home. You don't get thanked for that, which is fine. That's not why we do it. But
right.
when you
Yeah.
get to this midlife time and you start doing things that you do get you get noticed for, like, doing these podcasts, and you'll find this too. Sometimes I'll get into a mood where I'm like, I don't think this even matters, like, whatever,
Mm,
it's just me, like,
right.
but then somebody will like randomly email me, hey, I love this episode, or talk to me about this episode you did with such and such. Oh, thank you so much. That was awesome. And then you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I do
Yeah.
it.
Because people
So
are listening. Yeah.
they
And
are listening. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, even if they find you at episode 38, they could go back and listen to other episodes that make a difference.
Yep, for sure.
So something else we
Yeah.
have in common
Mhm.
is we have all daughters. You don't have any sons,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Nope.
So I have three, you
Nope.
have two.
Two. Yep. Yep.
And I've been thinking, so my oldest is 32, and I have
Uh-huh.
my middle's turning 30, and my youngest just turned
Oh
28.
my gosh. Aren't those
So they're
numbers just
grown.
so weird?
Yeah, it's so beautiful and weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have their partners, they have the jobs and their houses and their, dogs, and they
Yeah.
have this whole life now, and it's really beautiful. And I'm so grateful
Uh,
for, their health, their employment, and their partners. In my
mhm.
gratitude practice, I give thanks for that every week.
Yeah.
And um, it's so, like, beautiful to watch it.
Yeah.
So what would be, and maybe we should both try to answer this, because I've never asked anybody this before,
Woo!
but what
Awesome.
what is something that you would want our five daughters to know as they approach midlife? Because, so they're in their 30s, so they're not even
Mhm.
close really, but a
Yeah.
decade flies by and all of a sudden, like, oh, mom, I wish you'd told me that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you'll know that I know mine will say that. Um, but gosh, but that is a super great question, because I keep trying to, like, the things that I learn, I keep trying to just literally tell them, and
Hmm.
no, it just bounces off. But I think one of the things that I would tell them is just, not everything is black and white.
Mm,
You know, Sometimes you have to be a little more fluid
yeah.
in your decisions, and, be ready to, like, if right now, if I'm planning something and it doesn't go well, I'm more of the, okay, well, now what do I need to do, to not fix it, but, like, how do I adapt? How do I pivot? And as
Yeah.
a younger person, their age, I would be like, oh, now what am
Yeah.
I going to do? That didn't work out,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. So if they would listen to that, that's what I
Yeah.
would tell them, I think. How about you?
Well, I do talk about this all the time because it was something I had to learn. I mean, I got separated at 52 years old. I'd been married for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost 31 at the time.
Wow.
So, I had never had anybody say to me that entire 5 decades, you should love yourself. And I
Oh,
heard moms should take care of themselves because they have to take care of the family. But that's different from actually being able to look in the mirror and say, I love you and you're doing a good job. And if you're going through something tough, you're strong enough, you can do this. I mean, I guess I just believed I was, but I think I was constantly beating myself up. And I think if I don't love myself, then how is someone else going to fully love me? And I think I think men and women need to hear that from a younger age. And it's not about being confident at work, and it's not about, being strong when you're disciplining your children. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, all those things are important, and they build your confidence, and you can become a stronger person. But there's also this beautiful, tender inside of men and women, but especially women, what I'm talking about right now is, you need to nurture that soul inside, that tender part of you, so that you can give that back to the world. And I think if all you're doing is putting it out, and you're not getting it back, or you're not giving it to yourself, because there's no guarantee anybody's ever going to give it to you. So the only guarantee you have is that you can learn to love yourself, and you do that. So I think that's what I would share. I think there's many, many things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could have written 35 chapters in my book, but I stuck to 12. And I think the other thing is like having a vision for your life, wanting, being focused on manifesting good things into your life and concentrating on good things instead of worrying about what is frustrating in the moment,
Yes.
focus on the future.
Yeah. Big picture.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's moments I can look back in my life and say, right there, I was stuck and I couldn't see the future. And so, I think that's pretty important. Do you,
sure.
can you, and this may be kind of random, but I read your blog.
Yay.
And you had one about, jigsaw puzzles.
Yes.
And I just thought it was such a unique take on things. And I would like my girls to hear your take on jigsaw puzzles.
That was just such a weird thing, because like the whole month of December I was sick, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what, I just was a respiratory blah. I would just whole month anyway. So I started to do jigsaw puzzles on my iPad. And like, I'm totally, like, I admit I'm addicted to jigsaw puzzles. But what I noticed and what I wrote about in that blog was that as we were like driving places, I think it was over Christmas, we were driving up north to see my parents or whatever. And I was looking at the sky and I noticed all these details in the sky and I know it's because of when you do a puzzle, you have to see all these little tiny pieces that make up the big picture, but you have to know what those little details are to put them together. So I started noticing, it's not just a gray sky, because it was, winter, it was gray, but there's like different shades of it, or there's a little white here and there's a little blue coming through. And then like the trees, the branches of the trees. And like, I was noticing each individual little branch of the trees, because they don't have leaves on them in winter here. They're just not here. So it just kind of made me stop and think like, that my addiction is teaching me to look at all the details. And so it's just to stop and look at things and notice things is so, I don't know, transforming is the right word, but it makes you appreciate things more, I think, because I do notice, the different shades of green now in the grass, and the dandelions are coming up and the bright yellow. And some people think dandelions are weeds, but I like them. So it just has taught me an appreciation for those little details that I haven't really noticed before. And now I do. So,
you just made me think about, when you're young and you're literally just rolling around in the grass because you're a kid and you get to do that. And I can't remember what the weeds were called, but they had the long stem with the little white ball flower on the top. And we would tie them together and make little crowns out of them.
Like the little clovers.
Yeah, I guess they were clover. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Yeah.
And it's like that's such a simple thing to do. And
Mhm.
it's in the details, like you said, I
Yeah.
think there's one expression, the devil's in the details, but I think when it
Yeah,
comes to things like this, I think the joy is in the details. Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I highly recommend having a very big vision for yourself and dreaming big for what you want and writing it
Mhm.
down and looking at it all the time. But it's the details, the tiny little thing of, somebody touching your hand or
Yeah.
um, your daughter whispering in your ear, like, come back soon, or, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible to have those tiny little moments affect you and to take
Mhm.
a second to breathe them in. So
Yeah.
I loved that, how something that you were doing that you enjoy doing that probably gives you peace. I would think jigsaw puzzles
Yeah.
make me slow down, and I love how they made me feel too.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about, I don't know a lot about aromatherapy. My sister-in-law,
Yeah.
uses it, and I've seen her, she's given me stuff at different times that definitely helped. And
Yeah.
so I don't know what you would like to share about
Oh,
aromatherapy, but I
sure.
think anybody who's stuck and is needing of healing
Mhm.
specifically,
Mhm.
what are some ways that aromatherapy can help you when you're going through something like that?
Oh gosh, there's so many there's so many things that it can do, but what it boils down to is when we smell a certain scent, that those molecules in that scent of whatever it is go to our brain through our nose, and they can affect what we do, how we feel, what we say. And people, I mean, people kind of know that, but they don't really realize how strong that is.
Mm,
Sometimes if you can think of a scent and it brings you back to a memory, or you think of someone and then you can think of their perfume. It's just, there's some great examples. So when I started working with essential oils, it was basically for fun. But like I said, when I learned how therapeutic they can be, I long story short, I wanted to do more with it than just, selling these oils. So I just pursued my aromatherapist certification, which I literally just got today.
yay!
Yay!
Congratulations again.
Thank you. um, because I want, like you said, people have given you oils, but you probably really don't know what to do with them for sure, how they work. So I see my role as a nurse and an educator to be that person who can help you learn about these oils. If it's just, you're going through a hard time, okay, tell me about that. Do you have anxious feelings, anxiety? I can give you some oils that mixed together will help just calm you. All you have to do is smell them. I can put them in a little inhaler, or I can put them in a roller bottle,
Mm,
and just taking that time to breathe them in. It's not just magic or voodoo or whatever people want to call it. It actually, there's a chemical reaction in your brain that calms things down and helps you feel better. Now, that doesn't mean it cures anything. It's not going to fix things, but
right.
it can help get you to a place where you can deal with whatever it happens to be, and you can handle it better. And then you can, calm your brain and make a plan, or whatever it happens to be. It's just, there's so much that could be a whole other episode, but
Right. Yeah.
it's just, it's just our bodies are always trying to heal themselves from whatever it happens to be, a physical, emotional, whatever. And we get in the way sometimes with what we put in our bodies or on our bodies. But if
Mm,
we put things in our bodies or on our bodies that help the body get to that balance and help itself, that's like that's amazing. And that's what we all need to do.
so is it, so in um, my book, and well, my new workbook, that I
Yeah.
have a lot of different meditative
Hmm.
practices. And it's like guided practices that I have recorded,
Sure.
or they can record them, whatever. Are there certain scents that help you relax into meditation? Because I know in yoga, sometimes
Yeah.
my yoga teachers would come and roll it on the wrist, or they would put it on
Yeah.
the tops of your feet. So when you did forward fold, you would
It
smell it,
would get that.
So
Yeah.
so are
Yeah.
like yoga, or but more specifically meditation, are there scents that would provide help and relaxation for just anybody, or is it everybody need a
Yeah.
different scent? How does that work?
There are ones that like I would like in a yoga class or a meditation, I would put out like certain oils, like vetiver is one that helps you calm your like your brain. Like when I meditate, I have a hard time like just not letting my brain go somewhere else.
Yeah,
I
most people
need
do,
to,
I think.
yeah. So yeah, there are oils that could help you with that. And that would be, like vetiver, lavender, a wild orange is actually one too that people are like, well, that's a citrus. It should be uplifting. Well, if you mix it with a little lavender or something else calming, it really calms things down. But yeah, there are oils that I would generally start with. And then I would, if someone's like, you know what, this isn't working, then okay, we'll add something else, whatever happens to be like a cedar wood or something. But yes, definitely there are oils that you can pair up for different things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I do find it really interesting that, I mean, my sister and my sister-in-law are both nurses. And so
Uh-huh.
I love that you're pairing your nursing skills, which is also compassion and empathy and all the things that go with being a nurse. I know not firsthand, but secondhand
Yeah.
through osmosis.
Mhm.
And then the oils and the healing principles of that. I just think that's really cool that
Yeah.
you've done that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't want to, we're not running out of time too bad. I think I got another
Okay.
2 questions in me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hopefully we have time. And so with you, we talked about stress and I want this podcast to be tools that help people get through a hard time, get through a big
Mhm.
life change. And so I love that we're talking about aromatherapy because I'm learning. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But just thinking about what stress and big life change does, like what's going through, like, I guess I'm asking you, from a nurse point of view,
Yeah, for sure.
like when you're going through that stress, there's, I worry about people because of like what's going on, what's happening in your body at that moment, that, blood pressure, and all kinds of things. I mean, I remember my hands would just shake
Mhm.
because when I was heartbroken, but I don't even really understand why was I shaking. It was a
Right.
trauma response. I understand that, but
Yeah.
physiologically, it makes sense to me why the aromatherapy would work, but long
Yeah.
term, why I want people to make a decision, choose, take their power back and choose to get better is because I also worry about the long-term physical effects.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when we are under stress, this hormone called cortisol goes crazy in our body and it tells us either fight, flight, or freeze. And sometimes it's okay to have a little bit of that in our bodies, but when it's chronic, like you said, you're going to have physical problems. You're going to have digestive issues. You're going to have mental, like brain fog, like big time, which we get as we hit menopause and all that too, which is awesome. But it's all
Yay.
that cortisol in our body, and so if we can, and that's a response to stress. So people will be like, well, I have this and this going on. And if you say, well, you just need to decrease your stress, that sounds like so simplified and like you kind of do, but it's not that easy. And everybody
Right.
knows that, we all know
Yeah.
that. So, but you do have to kind of go to the root of what's happening. So what are you stressed out about? What is the problem? What's going on? And like essential oils, meditation, yoga, all that can help kind of reduce that stress response so that cortisol isn't flowing through your body all the time and telling your body to go crazy. So that, I mean, it will help. Like these are like tools that you can use to kind of decrease that cortisol,
Right. Yeah.
response basically. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for explaining that. That's awesome.
Yeah, sure.
I had no idea we were going there today.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
me
started
either.
thinking maybe she could explain it to me because
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
lived it. I completely understand it. I have so much empathy for people who are going through that trauma
Yeah.
response. And I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
actually had PTSD counseling after
Mhm.
because what went down was terribly traumatic,
Yeah.
for me and my family, my entire family. So,
Mhm.
and I think when you're in it, it's just impossible almost, where you think it's impossible to know which way to
Yeah.
go. How do I stop feeling like I need to flight?
To fly.
How do
Yeah.
I,
Yep.
and,
Yeah.
and if you can turn on the fight and it be you fight for yourself instead of fight for, fight
Yeah.
against someone
Again,
else
with something.
and just start fighting for yourself. I think,
Yeah.
but, before we started the podcast, you were talking about, um, why, some of the messages that have been consistent. And you mentioned you want people to realize they already have what they need to go
Yes.
forward and get out of stuckness. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, people are like, well, I'm stuck. What do I do? What do I do? And then when we kind of what we talked about before, when you think back about what you've already done, well, I've got 2 kids. Well, that's great. And they're adults and they're still upright and they're breathing. You did a
Way to
good
go.
thing. Yay, yay, you. I mean, no, but really, I think we just all have to, if you're stuck, you don't know, like, I don't know what to do next. You just really think about what you've already done. And maybe it's, maybe you didn't save the world, if you
Mhm.
could do that, that'd be awesome. But you've impacted people in some way. What did you do for a job? What was your job? And, even if you worked at, I don't want to denigrate any like jobs, like you flip burgers, you were still like helping someone, you did
Yeah.
something good. And, just look for those little things that you've done and like, oh gosh, I did do that. And maybe you stayed in that job for 10 years or whatever. Look for those things that you've done that you're proud of and that you impacted someone, even if it's just one person, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and like, gosh, I did that, didn't I? Yes, you did. Okay. Now what do you want to do next? And
Right.
just what if I always like, I actually did a little class once where I said, if you had no barriers, no, like nothing holding you back, what would you want to do? And just write everything, anything and everything. And okay, now pick out one and what were your barriers? And okay, time, money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's pick time. You have 24 hours in your day. Where can you work on this?
Yes.
Do you need to write out your schedule? Like I'm visual. I have a paper planner. I have to write everything out. Or, keep track. What did you do today? And, if you have a whole lot of space in your day that you did nothing, well, there's some time for you, just things that, make a plan. Like first think about what you've done and how much what you've accomplished. And then, okay, now what do I want to do? And just
Yeah.
use that power that you already have. Like, I've already done this. Now what can I do? Let's go. Let's do,
Yeah.
I just want to,
I
just
love
want to go,
that.
come on.
Yeah, that's really similar to, almost exactly of what I'm trying to convey in
Yeah.
chapter 2. And it's about I am enough, but then the
Mhm.
empowerment practice is called a life purpose resume. And it's exactly what you just said.
Uh,
It's like listing what you've done, how it
mhm.
made you feel, who did you help when you did it?
I love that.
Yeah. And starting with the kids, if you have children, but also
Yeah.
I volunteered at a homeless shelter and, served meals and I brought them food and
Yeah.
clothes. Well, how
Right.
much time did that take? And who did you help? Who did it impact? How did it
Right.
impact you? So just actually looking at these things of what brought you joy and what made you feel accomplished and what resonated that oh my gosh, I really helped someone today.
Hmm.
This is where you find your life purpose. I mean,
Exactly.
I fell into, I was a writer, but I fell into writing this book
Hmm.
and it has become my life purpose. And
Yeah.
I recognized that after I wrote it, not before I wrote it.
Ah.
It was the act of walking through and writing the book and realizing, wow, this actually could make a difference. All of these women coming together and telling their stories can make a
Yeah.
difference. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's
It's amazing.
yeah, but it does take reflection. And I think
Mhm.
in midlife, it's such an incredible opportunity. It's not
Mhm.
oh wow, yeah, now what do I do? Think of it as an opportunity.
Yeah. It's like, now
What
what do
can
I
I
get to
do? Yeah.
do? Yeah.
What do
And
I
the
want
more
to do?
you kind of, yeah, the more you kind of do that, you find that courage that leads to confidence. And then you find more things and it just grows.
Yeah.
It's an amazing process in my mind.
Yeah. And it is vulnerable to take, walk away from what you were, you were the mom, I was a business owner. Now I'm not. Well, I'm starting a new business. Yeah. I mean, it's just like all of these things that you shift.
Yeah.
And, but give yourself grace, I think, is really important, but also, women are so courageous. And I love that you said courage a second ago, because it does take courage, a lot of it daily, daily doses of courage, to get out of being stuck. And no matter how you got there, but it takes courage to be vulnerable, to move on. It takes courage to take those first steps. So,
yeah. That's funny. You said too, you were a business person, and now I was a nurse, and then I would be like, well, I was a nurse, but now I'm a business person, but I'm really a nurse. Like, no, now I am a business owner. I have my own business, and this is what I do. It's just that here I am,
Yeah. I used to say I mean, even yesterday I said, I was an entrepreneur. I was a news publisher. And I was like, I am an entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
I wrote a book, and now I have a coaching business. Like, wait, I am an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm an LLC, by golly.
Me too.
I know. That really made me feel all grown up, and like where I could start saying I am again when I formed my LLC.
I love that.
It's the little things.
Yeah. Right.
We're back to that again. Oh gosh. Well, Kim, thank you. This has been great. I learned a lot about cortisol and aromatherapy. And but I really appreciate what you're doing for women. You inspire me, and I'm following in your footsteps.
Yay. I'm so happy. I'm excited for you. I love it when people want to start a podcast and they're like, hey, how do I do it? I'm like, here you go. This is awesome. So you'll love it.
Thank you for your support, and thank you for being my guest.
You are very welcome.
And last thing.
Yes.
Can you tell everybody how to get a hold of you?
Yeah. The best place to find me is on my website. It's www.midlifewithcourage.com. My blog is there. My podcast is there. There's a link to my oils products that I'm selling online. And if you want to, I think there's a link to my Facebook. If you want to find me on Facebook or Instagram, it's Midlife with Courage as well. It's pretty easy to find if you just type in Midlife with Courage.
Okay. Do you have a Facebook group called Midlife with Courage?
It's my business page, and I do have another group like attached to it, but it's not called that. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what to do with that group, because it's not that super active. So I might at some point. But go to my business page. I interact. Yeah,
you never know what pivot.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah,
I mean, you're doing courageous. So
well, yeah, I am. No,
oh my gosh.
I'm incorporating more aromatherapy like education into that business page. So like every Friday I do a little video or a live, about little, it's very short little thing. Just little tidbits for people. So
well, that's a great way for people to learn about it if they're curious and don't want to know next steps or kind of. But I love the idea of using the scents to in fact, I think I might incorporate that. I think I will incorporate that into my coaching. I think that would be really helpful to people to try that. I can
help you with that. Let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Or your sisters-in-law. You said you had help there. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you being a guest, and I hope people will reach out to you and also listen to your blog.
I would love that. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, listeners. See you next time.
Kelly's book is available on Amazon and through your local bookstores. Look for the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. Kelly's interviews with 10 friends from around the world unlock powerful truths to getting your new life started.